Hello everyone, welcome to my channeling video. Today I will connect with the Draconians, uncover their origins, and simultaneously answer your questions. I will be channeling the celestial dragons, the light and shadow aspect of the Draconians, so you can see the duality around and what I've channeled in between. So let's get started. We are the ascended celestial dragons. We came from a timeline where we embraced both our inner darkness and inner light as one. We see all and know all. Ask us anything you desire. Thank you, celestial dragons. The first question is, what are the Draconians? What is their origins? The Draconians originate from the constellation of Draco, also known as the Dragon. Their primary star system is Alpha Draconis. What happened that have altered the state of them was timeline alteration, disruptions and implants, and DNA altering. This was the very beginning during the creation phase, the very early times. I'll get back to there. But in this video, we'll focus on our current timeline of the galactic history. Similar to humans, the Draconians evolved from a bipedal species, a primitive race with rudimentary methods. Their mindset was narrow, as their intellect was still developing. They lived through an age of gathering and hunting, guided by animalistic instincts, the fight or flight response, and the relentless pursuit of dominance and power. They were ruled by their personal ego. So my next question is, do you think the Draconians were experimented on during their creation? If so, who created them? I just had a feeling that the Draconians aren't the most evil of the evil. They aren't really the most the mastermind of evil, like what everyone perceived them to be. I feel like there is more, deeper, in-depth history behind it. So that's why I asked this question. We'll get there, but first, let me tell you something. The Draconians had a light side. Think of evolution like a branching path. You guys know Pokemon or Digimon, right? At least Pokemon is pretty popular over there. A baby Pokemon can evolve into different forms based on its chosen element. Some become fire type, some become water types, some light, and the others dark. There is free will to choose from. The Draconian had two choices. In this timeline, they chose the darkness, they chose the shadow aspect, taking on a more negative form. We created them fairly, giving them the freedom to choose. Consciousness is fluid, like water. It can become whatever it desires. Sometimes we choose what is uncomfortable, but who are we to judge? What we find unsettling may not be the same for others, just as what they embrace may not resonate with us. Of course, this choice wasn't perfect. It did cause destruction in parts of the universe, and this galactic war, it sparked it. So who created the Draconians? The higher ones did. What you refer as the higher self, they are the dreamers, the original architects of these species. We can also refer to the dreamer as our higher self. So this was the very early phase, the very beginning phase of creation. What was their history before the war, and how did things turn out like this? The planet Draco, or whatever you want to name it, because name doesn't matter, is a green world, a land of green, with more land than ocean. Think of Earth's Jurassic Age. It was not an easy planet to live on, with volcanic eruptions and atmospheric instability. The atmosphere, the climate was unstable. So it was not an easy planet. It's fight to survive. It's trying to stay alive. Experiments were conducted on its environment and species. Draco was home to many life forms and black holes surrounding the system, making it a unique and dangerous place. So during this time, I saw the Zetas developing this race for a long time. They were raising this race. They were semi-governing the planet. They were not occupying the planet. It was almost like the Anunnakis when they were around Earth. Except, well, the Anunnakis did occupy the planet, but the Zetas were orbiting around the planet. So they were creating the perfect dominant species. They were trying to develop and raise into one. They provided the Draconians with vast technology, weaponry, and artificial intelligence. Draconians, I don't think they created. I don't think they started AI. I don't think so. There is a system called the Zeta Reticuli, and that's where the Greys come from, and that's where the Zetas come from. And those are the beings that are a master of technology and artificial intelligence. And they, passed a lot of these stuff to the Draconians. The Draconians revered the Zetas as deities or gods. That's when the Draconian Empire started to develop. It makes sense, actually. When I first heard about the Draconians, like I said, I didn't feel threatened until I learned what they did to the Lyrans. But I was more uncomfortable with the Zetas. They were purely apathetic, devoid of morals or compassion. You look at I used to read books about aliens when I was a kid, picture books, and I would see these gray aliens. And what I know is, wow, they don't have any empathy. They don't have any empathy. They don't have any sympathy. It's like I'm talking to a machine. They completely got rid of all that inside. So it's like an empty vessel operating as a machine. So they function like machines with advanced cloning technology. Each Zeta was essentially a data file that could be copied and stored, then mass-produced with identical thought patterns and objective. They lost all forms of creativity. So they can clone infinite amount of themselves, and if they die, they can transfer their lost data to another Zeta, and then it seems like they cannot die because they're transferring all the memories and data to another one, but then their soul is dead. It's just what's left is their memories and information. So it's very similar to robotics, right? So perhaps if I connect with them, I might hear a sob story from them too. Of course, everything there's a light and a dark side, because right now we are in the duality state, which is an illusion, because we all come from oneness. On one side of the planet, so this was another channeling I did, I saw a desert. In a certain timeline, it was once lush and green. It was once a beautiful green land, but the environment deteriorated during a planetary downshift. One thing the Draconians excel at is adaptation. They adjust swiftly, constructing palaces and underground civilizations to survive the hostile climate above the desert. The desert is very similar to Orion, very similar to the movie Dune, to Star Wars. There's a desert planet, the sandworms. Very difficult to live. The desert is a lot harder than the Jurassic. The Jurassic is already hard enough, but the desert is tenfold harder. So now let's answer some of the questions from you guys. And I decided to pick the more important question that would answer every one of your questions at the same time. And let's start with the first one. What is the greatest challenge their race has faced, and how did they overcome it? So this was channeled through a more of a realistic aspect, and more of a shadow aspect, this information. So you can see how the tone is starting to change with the information I've channeled. We can overcome anything through our adaptability. We are like chameleons. No matter the circumstance, we find a way to survive. If one of us were placed on a hostile planet, that one reptile would endure and thrive. We do not seek change, but if we are placed in a system, we learn to use it to our advantage. And in our system, Survival is won through competition, power, and conquest. If you ask what our greatest challenge is, everything is a challenge to us. We love challenge. The second question. Also, if your questions are not answered, please don't be upset. I just thought answering other questions may answer your question at the same time. So the second question, how are they doing now after the Lyran and Orion Wars? Are any of them turning towards the light? Do humans have misconceptions about them? Are reptilian deities in various religions actually Draconians? The Orion and Lyran War were not our doing. Were not mainly our doing. That was only one faction of us. We are highly individualistic. Some of us follow different gods, while others adapt to different systems. A faction called the X-Cyborg was heavily involved with the war. They are no longer truly themselves. So that's why we call them the cyborgs, X-Cyborgs. They have replaced themselves with machines and AI. But that was their choice. Misconceptions about us are understandable. We do not need anyone's sympathy. We are doing just fine on our own, and we care little for what others think or feel about us. Our only concern is achieving our goals. As for deities, most were created using methods introduced by the Anunnaki. We merely copy them, replacing their gods with our own, and we adapt their system and create that system. We just copy, and we just learn, and we execute them. That is all. Third question. Do Dark Draconians harass Light Draconians across lifetimes, timelines, or planets? To this, they answer, we do not harass anyone. The only time we engage is when we find something of value, which we will do everything in power to get whatever we need and find in value. The fourth question. What is the connection between Draconian Starseeds and spiritual dragons? I tend to mix them up. Draconian Starseed each have their own agendas. We do not follow a herd mentality, but we are more individualistic. There is a significant difference between the dragons and the Draconians. Dragons are the ascended godhood we once possessed. They represent our original DNA, the original plan, but we have fallen. We have been abandoned by our godhood. We are stuck here, unable to reconnect. Then why don't you try to reconnect? Because we like it here. Then I ask, but don't you want your superpowers back? They answered, this is how the system works, and we have learned to dominate it. We don't care if we are placed in the deepest depths of hell. We will adapt, thrive, and overcome. So yeah, when I was channeling this, there was so much anger and resentment in the energy, the feeling of abandonment, of being cast aside, the feeling of being seen as something dirty and worthless. This is the shadow consciousness of the Draconians. Really, really deep inside. And it feels like a lot of history, a lot of time has passed to the point where they even forget, their true feelings, that they have neglected this consciousness, this part of themselves, and refuse to admit it. Anyways, back to the channeling. The dragons must be surprised. We are doing better than they expected. We are evolving to be even more powerful. Soon, we may become omnipotent like them. The next question. Do they have souls or are they AI? All of them have souls. Even those integrated with machines still possess souls, though their connection with them is fading. What is their view of source? How do they see their role in the universe? How do they relate to AI? To this question, this is how they view source. There is no source. There is only power. We can do whatever we desire, and the only winners are those with the strength and determination to conquer, to thrive, to claim it all. We see the universe as it is, nothing more, nothing less. This is reality. We accept it. This is our way, and we will follow it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know that this channeling is a bit of a mix. You can see that there is the light side. The dragon is more on the higher side. They are much older. They are like the higher self. And the Draconians are more of the shadow aspect, are more of the, let's say they are more like us. They're like humans. They had a similar history like humans. Like the Draconians were created and not created, they were raised by the Zetas. Humans, we are created by the Anunnakis. That's why we resemble a lot to the Anunnakis, and we have a lot of their DNA. The Draconians, same, they have a lot of the DNA, they have a lot of the inheritance from the Zetas, like the AI, the technology. And the Reptilian is, I don't want to say this word, they are more of an inferior or a lower race because they don't have the wings to fly. And this is also a different sector, different type of Draconian species. But this is only one of the timeline, the main timeline, or no, our timeline. Because there are many more timelines where the Draconians chose the light side. And in fact, there are timelines where species like the Lyrans, the Pleiadians, they chose the dark side. But this is all a whole, a oneness whole. Except that there is a split, there is a division, and there are choices. Which from 1 to infinite. If you're interested for a reading about your starseed origin, your soul origin, I can give you guidance through the Akashic records. I also do entity removal work and cleansing work and healing work. I'll leave the links down below in the YouTube description. So please check them out. Anyways, thanks for watching this video again. I hope to see you again in my next video. Be sure to share this video with your friends and help me spread grow my YouTube channel. So have a good day and see you next time. Much love and peace.